So, you think you know the story of Jacob and Esau, right? The whole thing with the stolen birthright, the traumatic blessing. But what if I told you that's just the surface story? Today, we are going deep, and I mean deep, into the mystical code of the Zohar to uncover what was really going on behind the scenes. Look, this wasn't just some sibling rivalry. This was a spiritual chess match with the fate of reality literally hanging in the balance. Let's dive in. This right here, this single line from the Zohar is our key. It's the key that unlocks the whole thing. Jacob went with him with crookedness. But why? The Zohar doesn't just retell stories, it reveals the source code. And what it's hinting at here is that Jacob's so-called deception was actually an incredibly sophisticated strategy against a much older, way more dangerous enemy, the primordial serpent itself. So what does this crookedness really mean? Well, that's the mystery we're here to solve. All right, so picture the scene. Let's paint a picture. We're in an ancient landscape. The heat is just shimmering off the desert floor. And into this world, two primal energies are born as twin brothers. First, you've got Esau, the man of the field. He's all raw, chaotic, physical power. He's impulsive, red-haired, basically a force of nature. And then there's Jacob, the dweller of tents. He's quiet, he's intelligent, he's strategic, a total opposite. And this is exactly where we need to reframe the entire story. Seriously, forget everything you thought you knew about a simple sibling rivalry over an inheritance. That's the kindergarten version. The Zohar tells us this is a cosmic chess match. On one side of the board, you have pure, unrectified force, just chaos. And on the other, you have this harmonizing, strategic intelligence. And the game, my friends, is just getting started. But see, the stakes here are so much higher than a family birthright. To really get what's happening, we have to pull back the curtain and look at the spiritual operating system that's running in the background of reality. This story isn't just about two brothers. No, it's about the very integrity of creation itself. So here's the big twist. The real antagonist in this whole drama isn't actually Esau. He's more like the host. He's a channel for a much older, much darker force that the Zohar calls the Sitra Achra, the other side. You can think of it as the cosmic force of chaos and entropy, and it's born from the spiritual venom, the Zohama, that the serpent injected into the world way back in the Garden of Eden. It's the same darkness that fueled Cain. It's like a glitch, a virus in the code of reality, and it's constantly trying to pull everything back into chaos.
Mystically, you have to understand that these brothers are living expressions of the Sephirot, those divine emanations that make up the blueprint of reality. Jacob embodies Tiferet, which is all about harmony, truth, and balance. He is the central column that keeps everything stable. Esau, on the other hand, embodies Gevurah, strength, judgment, the left column. But his Gevurah is unbalanced, it's fallen into distortion, it's become a channel for raw, unfiltered judgment. And that's why he's called Admoni, the red one, because red is the color of harsh judgment, or din.
So what's with the number 5? Ooh, this is fascinating. Gevurah is the 5th Sephirah on the mystical tree of life, but it goes even deeper than that. 5 also represents the 5 physical senses. And Esau, well, he lives entirely through his senses. What he can touch, what he can taste, what he can see, what he can hunt. And that total attachment to the physical world, that's his vulnerability. That is the open port that allows the serpent force to get right in. And this is exactly why Jacob's strategy had to be so unconventional. You see, you cannot fight this chaotic force head-on. It's impossible. Esau is magnetically drawn to the serpent's side. It's practically written into his spiritual DNA. To engage him with direct force would be to fight chaos with more chaos. It would be like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. It would just empower the very energy Jacob needed to neutralize and would lead to total cosmic destruction. No pressure, right? So if a direct fight is off the table, what does he do? Well, this brings us to the absolute genius of his plan. Jacob doesn't act like a warrior here. He acts like a cosmic engineer. He's a white hat hacker for the Holy One. He identifies a critical vulnerability in the system of reality, and he executes a brilliant ethical hack to preserve the entire divine mission. Okay, let's break down this holy hack, step by step, because it's amazing. First, Jacob identifies the vulnerability. Esau's entire operating system is compromised by the serpent virus.
Second, he crafts the perfect exploit. That disguised meal he makes is like a little data packet, perfectly coded to be accepted by Esau's corrupted, sense-driven system. Third, he executes the exploit. Bam! He reroutes the core system permissions. We're talking about the blessings of Abraham, which are basically the root access to the divine plan. He reroutes them away from the corrupted channel and over to his secure one. And finally, by doing this, he builds a spiritual firewall, protecting the entire lineage from this cosmic virus for generations to come.
And now let's go back to our core verse, because suddenly it just snaps right into focus. The Hebrew word here is be'akima, with crookedness or with cunning wisdom. The Zohar is telling us this isn't a moral failure. Not at all. It's a strategic necessity. Jacob had to become like a serpent to outmaneuver the serpent. He had to use indirect, sophisticated, crooked logic to defeat a force that thrives on direct, brute force confrontation. You see, he's fighting fire with water, not with more fire.
So we've seen the strategy. It's brilliant. But to understand why it worked, we have to look under the hood at the source code itself. Now we're getting into the deep mechanics of the Sephiroth, the spiritual physics that made Jacob's hack not just possible, but absolutely, fundamentally necessary.
This little map here gives us a really clear picture of the opposing forces at play. Jacob is called Ishtam, which means a complete or a whole man. And why? It's because his Sephirah Tiferet is the perfect blend of kindness or chesed and judgment, Gevurah. He's the ultimate balancer. Esau, on the other hand, is Admoni, the red one, which points directly to his nature as fallen, raw judgment, making him a perfect channel for chaos. So you see, this isn't good versus evil. It's balance versus imbalance. It's harmony versus entropy.
And this is the core visual metaphor for what Jacob is actually doing. I want you to think of Jacob's action as a pure, white light of wisdom operating inside a raging red flame of judgment. He doesn't try to put out the flame. That would unbalance the entire cosmos. No, instead he enters it. He navigates it with this divine cleverness, and he redirects its immense power for a holy purpose. He literally harmonizes it from within. It's beautiful.
And here we go. We've arrived at the big question, the one that hangs over this whole story if you're just reading it on the surface. You know, a lie is a lie, right? Was this a moral compromise? Did the ends justify the means? From a simple human perspective, it's a tough one for sure. But from a cosmic perspective, well, the answer is just profound.
The answer lies in one of the deepest, most powerful ideas in all of Kabbalah, tikkun, which means rectification. Tikkun is the active, ongoing process of repairing a broken world. And the principle of tikkun teaches that sometimes to heal a crooked system, holiness has to get its hands dirty. It has to enter that broken system and engage with it on its own terms. So Jacob's act wasn't a compromise of holiness, it was the ultimate expression of it. It was an act of cosmic repair.
So what in the world does this ancient piece of spiritual code have to do with you and me today in our lives? It turns out everything. This story contains an incredibly powerful set of instructions for navigating the complexity of our own worlds. So let's try to translate this ancient wisdom into a modern language we can all use.
Okay, let's start with the video game version. This is for all the gamers out there. Think of Jacob as a really clever stealth character, and Esau as like a powerful but very predictable boss monster. You know the type. The boss's code is simple. It just attacks with brute force over and over. You're never going to win by matching its strength, so what do? Well, you study its patterns. You use the game's own physics and environment against it. You find a glitch or an exploit to get past it so you can achieve the level's objective. See, the goal isn't to beat the boss in a fair fight. The goal is to complete the mission.
All right, now for the Cosmic Engineer version. This is about applying adaptive security protocols when you find yourself in a hostile environment. It's about knowing how to use counter-exploitation strategies to neutralize a threat without triggering a full-scale war. It's that deep wisdom to understand when indirect, crooked logic is far, far superior to direct force. It's recognizing that sometimes an ethical system override is actually necessary to preserve the core mission. And maybe most importantly, it's having the courage to engage with complex, messy, broken systems in order to fix them, rather than just avoiding them in the name of your own purity.
And so we'll leave you with this question to carry with you. Take a look at the challenges in your own life. Where are you trying to use brute force on a problem that actually requires a much more subtle, clever, maybe even crooked approach? Where might the path of indirect wisdom be the most effective and maybe even the holiest path forward? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, Please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.